Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing really well, and of course Happy New Year. Here we are on January 1st of 2024. I have to say the last part of 2023 really flew by. It's almost like we had Halloween in October and then all of a sudden it's New Year's. So I thought I'd just hop on here quickly and have just a chatty kind of video about recapping what 2023 was like for YouTube and my reading and all of that, and set some goals for 2024. So I hope you guys are interested in that. So I have my tea. I've got chamomile tea today, and so I hope you all have a hot beverage or a pop or a juice or something, and let's just chit chat about the past year and what we have upcoming. So I'm not gonna lie, 2023 was a really bad year for me. And it's funny because I think a lot of people have the same general consensus. It wasn't a great year for a lot of people. You know, we started off really on the wrong foot. We had one of my dogs had passed away last October, and then I was super sick with COVID, and then I was super sick with another lung infection in early January. So the year didn't start off great, and then it just kind of multiplied from there. So 2023 in my personal life wasn't fantastic, and as a lot of you know, we also lost our other dog, Callie, who was the older one, and she passed away just a few days ago, really on December 18th. So it's been really super hard grief-wise, and there's been family stuff going on, and I had a career change, job change, and I actually went back to an old job that I had prior to going to the one that I had had for the past 9 years. And so it's been a little bit of adjustment for, like, you know, learning a new position, learning a new system that I had to work on every day, going back to the office. So I started there in July. I'd been working from home for the past 3 years, which was about the same amount of time that I've been here on YouTube. And so that was an adjustment too, because, you know, obviously going back to the office every day and like leaving my dog at home, and trying to fit my reading in as well, because of course, you know, with the travel time to and from work, I didn't have as much time to read. So in 2023, I had actually read more audiobooks than I ever had before. And funny enough, and I know this is a huge discussion and a huge debate in the book community, whether audiobooks actually count as reading. I do believe so, but it's funny because I actually debate with my husband. So I always say I consume audiobooks. I don't read audiobooks because I guess technically you're not reading, but you're still consuming the material in the way it was, you know, the story was meant to be consumed. It's not like a redo, it's not like watching a movie or whatever. So having said that, and I know like it's going to be a debate in the book community until the end of time, but I did read more audiobooks than ever. Sorry, something just banged against the door and it was really scary for a second. So I did read more audiobooks than I ever have before, and 2023 wasn't a fantastic reading year. I mean, I read 72 books. My goal was 75. I finished 72, and but just I found that I was really slumpy a lot of the year, but I had been experiencing some burnout and some fatigue and stresses and stuff like that in my personal life, which I'm sure kind of, you know, was a catalyst into that. So I did manage to read 72 books, which is fantastic. But I missed my goal, which, I mean, those Goodreads goals are just, they're very loose. I don't ever set them to really achieve them. I just put them in there as like a guideline for what I would like to do. But even just with the caliber of books I was reading, like I read a lot of books that I really liked, but I think I had more DNFs this year than I ever had before. And I don't know if it's just because I wanted to really concentrate on the books that I wanted to read and not struggle through the ones that I didn't, or if it was part of my mentality that was sort of contributing to these DNFs and just moving on and trying to find something else to fill that void that I was experiencing. So yeah, so all of that, all in all, you know, 2023 wasn't terrible in regards to my reading. And the other thing that I had set at the beginning of the year that I do think I achieved, I said that I wanted to read more classic and vintage fiction, and I did that. So you guys know that I read a lot of Gothic fiction this year, and which started back in February of 2023. I took part in the Gothic Hearts Reading Challenge, and that sort of kickstarted my whole catalyst into reading a lot more, not only Gothic fiction, but also just classic fiction. So like I read Jane Eyre for the first time. I had seen the movie adaptation, you know, 100 times, but I'd never actually read the book, so I read that one. I read the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I read a lot of books that have been on my list for years and years and just haven't gotten to. So that was really, really fantastic. I felt really accomplished in that. The thing that I kind of missed though was reading a lot of the vintage horror that I wanted to. I did read a lot of vintage horror, and one of those books turned out to be my favorite book of the year. So, you know, I read things like Rosemary's Baby, and The Sentinel was another one that I wanted to read, and I actually ended up DNFing it. I didn't like it that much. So, you know, I did feel accomplished. I read The Omen. The Omen was really, really good. I wanted to read Robert McCammon because that is Kelsey's favorite author and a vintage horror writer. So I read Ball this year, which was really fantastic. And it's a book that a lot of people don't give a lot of love to. Like they're like, it's not one of his best ones, but I really enjoyed it. So I'm like, if this is one of his weaker books, which it was one of the first ones that he wrote, then I'm really, really excited to read more McCammon. And so yeah, I mean, I didn't read as much as I wanted to in those genres, but I do still feel accomplished with what I did read. So that's kind of like a wrap up of 2023 reading wise. And then other than that, you know, the channel has been doing relatively well. I mean, you know, we all have small channels here on BookTube. We're almost at the 1K finally after, you know, 3 years, over 3 years of doing this. So that's fantastic. And we started our book club this year, which I've just been blown away by the support. So we started the Haunted Victorian book club. So if you missed that video, go back and watch the announcement video. And there's also an Instagram page, there's a Discord, and the first live show for the December read is going to be coming up on January 6th. And I have some other influencers and booktubers that are going to be joining me on there to discuss. And of course, we'll have a discussion with you guys in the comments as well. So yeah, I mean, you know, 2023 overall wasn't a fantastic year, but I feel like when I'm talking it out, like we actually did accomplish quite a lot. So it wasn't all bad. So now that 2023 is officially behind us and we're moving into 2024, I did want to talk about a couple of goals that I do have. So my change in my adult job, I guess you would call it, is allowing me more ability, I guess, to have more bandwidth in my brain to concentrate on doing videos and coming up with other projects and stuff like that. So I do have a couple of fairly lofty goals for 2024. So for BookTube, actually, I think I'm going to reduce the number of videos that I put out. So I typically tried to put out 2 videos a week. I think I'm going to cut back on that and actually just put out 1 video per week. But we're going to layer on some reading sprints and live shows and different kinds of things like that. So that's one thing actually I did accomplish in 2023 that I forgot to mention was we did have our first live show here on YouTube, and I had Andrew from It Came From The Page, and we talked about vintage Canadian movies and TV shows and all of that kind of stuff. It was almost an extension to Old School April, which he's also a co-host. And so that was something that I really had a mental block there, that I don't know why. I was just like, I was really, really scared to do any kind of live show on the channel, but I had already been on other people's live shows. So we did that. So there's going to be more live shows. There's going to be more like sprints and that sort of thing. And then, you know, we'll still have the sit down videos, but it'll probably only be once a week as opposed to the Wednesday and Sunday. And that's because I wanted to open myself up to some other spooky projects. So I've had this one in the works for a couple of years now. I think it's going to be launching in January or February. And it's actually nothing to do with BookTube. It's going to be a podcast. I won't go into too much detail, but it's going to be a nonfiction podcast. And yeah, so coming up within the next 4 weeks, I will have an official announcement for that. And like I said, I won't get into too much of what it's going to be about, but it's not book related, it's not movie related, it's not booktube related. It's going to be something completely different. But I hope you guys will be still interested in it, because it's still considered, you know, a spooky project. And then I actually bought myself something a couple of months ago. I bought myself a sewing machine, and one thing that I really wanted to get into doing, well, one is just learning to sew, you know, overall, but I really like book sleeves. And one of my sort of projects that I want to work on is learning how to make book sleeves, but making them spooky and gothic and dark and that sort of thing, because I find that everything that I find online, or a lot of the things, they're not fantastic for like my own aesthetic. So I really wanted to offer that to other people. So I'm hoping to either do that through Etsy or through a website or something. So there's going to be that. And then there's a couple of other things that I have sort of in the back of my mind. I mean, you guys know that I'm working on my book, so I wanted to continue doing that. And I actually have some time set aside in my schedule to be able to do it as well. So it's kind of sad that I'm going to be cutting back on videos in a way, but it's to open myself up to be able to do other things. So, and then the other thing I wanted to do, of course, was more vlog type videos. I mean, I said that last year and it really didn't come to fruition. So I'm going to do some more vlog type videos as well. So hopefully you guys are really into all of that and you will be on board. So very quickly, I didn't want to chat on and on and on. That's kind of my sort of overall goals, and then we're going to continue on. I do want to read more in the gothic genre, obviously, with my my own book club, and then I do want to continue reading more vintage horror and vintage fiction in general. So one thing that I always say that I'm going to do, and then it just kind of veers off, is I always say that I'm going to read more of my vintage books that are in my collection and less new books. And that always seems to be something that escapes me, because there's always something that comes out that, you know, you want to read. I did read a lot last year in the vintage sort of sphere, but I do want to up that. And I've had such fantastic luck at the thrift stores lately that I think it's really going to inspire me and help me really achieve that goal. So if you guys have any suggestions of vintage horror that you would like me to try or to put on my list of possibilities, please put them down below, because I'd really like to know what your guys' favorite vintage horror books are, or just vintage in general, or gothic books, or whatever. I will do a list. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do a list, and then I can add them into my possibilities for the entire year. So that's pretty much it. The last thing that I did want to mention was I set my Goodreads goal this year to 100 books, which is more than I've never read 100 books in a year. But I'm really hoping to, especially with these other projects that I have going on, maybe throw on an audiobook and, you know, do my content planning and all of that sort of thing, and really take some more time to accomplish that goal. It's a lofty one for me. You know, like I said, I only read 72 books last year. So let me know what you think of that. And we're going to try to achieve it. If I don't achieve it, it's totally fine. But let me know what you think. Let me know any books that you want to put on my list down below. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I just wanted to have a quick chat with you guys about kind of how I felt about this past year, what's coming up next year, and I hope you guys will be on board for these other projects, because there's even some that I haven't mentioned on here, and you know, I've decided just to kind of get over myself and do it and stop being scared. So hopefully you guys are on board for that. I wanted to say thank you to all of you guys for being members of the channel and watching my videos and commenting and all the things. This is a fantastic community and I really appreciate each and every single one of you guys. So that's it for today. Happy New Year again, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.